Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron and welcome back today to another live stream. It is Tuesday evening. I hope you all are doing well. I hope you'll have had a good day and a good start to your week. We are here to talk about more Everton news. This time we are here to talk about a potential takeover from 777 to Everton Football Club. There have been a lot of reports over the last 24 to 48 hours or so stating that a full takeover from 777 of Everton Football Club is near. The BBC reported just a few hours ago that Everton are close to being sold to 777 partners. This come after reports from the Telegraph earlier today suggesting that Everton are in advanced talks with US firm 777 partners over a full sale of the club. And it was first broken sort of initially, and I say first broken because we've heard a lot of these rumours over the course of the last few months or so about Everton being close to being taken over by MSP, Everton being close to taking over by 777. This round of rumours, I'll call it, because I feel like these types of things do come in rounds. You will often get a couple of days of, a lot of rumours surrounding these types of things, suggesting that Everton are close to being taken over, or Everton are one step away from an announcement. I remember about a month ago, we sat here and done a video about MSP being one step away from taking over Everton completely, and that never happened. So the latest and the first sort of information from this round of rumours came from Bloomberg, who are, of course, a massive business sort of page on social media, and they reported that Everton are close to being sold to 777 partners. Farhad Moshiri is expected to exit with a fraction of the money he has invested. A deal could be announced as soon as Tuesday, that meaning today, because that was reported yesterday. So yeah, a lot of media, as I said, the BBC, the Telegraph, Bloomberg, all, very reliable sources when it comes to this type of stuff. And, we're not just talking about, somebody in a bedroom typing up a report to try and find clicks. We're talking about genuine, media outlooks and news outfits, and news, companies that are reporting this. And again, it leaves us in a position of, well, who are 777? Is this a good thing for the football club? Is this a bad thing for the football club? Is this actually truthful? Because as I've just said, again, we seem to have this conversation almost every other month where we get a new bit of information every now and then that suggests that, a certain company, whether it be MSP, whether it be 777, whether it be somebody else, is in talks to buy Everton. Obviously, we had the, was it the Peter Kenyon or the Richard Kenyon? I can't remember. One of them is a businessman and one of them was wanting to buy Everton. I think it might have been Peter Kenyon, and his consortium about 6 months ago was in talks to buy Everton. They signed an exclusivity agreement. That obviously was washed away and nothing came of that. Then we had MSP. That obviously came and went. Now we're on to 777, and whilst there's reports suggesting that Everton are close to being taken over by 777, there was also reports similar to that about those other companies that Everton were apparently close to being taken over by. So again, I don't really know what to believe when it comes to this type of stuff anymore, because the amount of times we've been told that Everton are close to a takeover from various different people, I've lost count of over the last 6, 7, 8 months or so, years, shall we say, and yet still Farhad Moshiri owns this football club, and still Bill Kenwright has got a massive role in the football club as well. So I would not be surprised if in a week's time Everton are still owned by Farhad Moshiri, we're still owned by Bill Kenwright, and the 777 rumours have completely quietened down. Now, there's one thing that is absolutely for sure, and that is that if this is to be true, and if Everton are close to being sold to 777, and it isn't just a sort of smokescreen for something else, or it isn't just a report that maybe is a little bit exaggerated, then this will ultimately take months to complete. Takeovers of Premier League football clubs are not things that are done overnight. Even when a deal is agreed and both parties are happy that a deal has been agreed, they still take months, a couple of months minimum really, before anything is officially announced and before anything ultimately is officially concluded. And that's because they've got to go through Premier League clearance, and there's various different things, handover things that have got to be done in order for a Premier League football club to change hands from one owner to another owner. So even if it was announced today that 777 had bought Everton Football Club from Farhad Moshiri, we would still be in a position where it would take at least a couple of months before we actually start to see any real sort of change in terms of Farhad Moshiri moving on and 777 coming through the door, etc, etc. Now I suppose the ultimate question when it comes to a takeover of a football club is, right, okay, is this going to be a positive thing for the football club, or is this going to be a negative thing for the football club? And that ultimately is what we all want to know. I don't think we're really particularly bothered about, about how 777, what they're going to come in and do, or what their plan is to do, or etc, etc. We're bothered about whether or not this is going to be a positive or whether this is going to be a negative for the football club. A lot of media out there, and a lot of the sort of things you can read on social media, and a lot of the reports that have been published over the years would suggest that this is not necessarily going to be a positive thing for the football club, which, to be fair to Everton and Farhad Moshiri, is quite some feat. To find an owner or a set of owners or a company that are arguably worse than what you have been to this football club over the last 7 years is some doing when you consider how bad Farhad Moshiri's tenure has been at Everton Football Club. For him to be able to go out there and find somebody that could arguably do worse than what he has done when we've spent hundreds of millions of pounds under him and declined to a point where we're now battling relegation battles on a frequent basis is quite the achievement from Farhad Moshiri, to be fair, because it was pretty difficult and it is pretty difficult for this to get worse for Everton Football Club. It can, don't get me wrong, it can, but it would be very difficult to make it worse because things are already absolutely terrible at the moment, and it looks like Farhad Moshiri might have just found himself a company and a set of people that could make this worse for Everton Football Club, which, as I said, is some achievement considering how bad he has been. And maybe that's his aim. Maybe we'll all get our tinfoil hats on and our conspiracy theorists pens out, and maybe, that's his aim. He wants to bring somebody in that's going to be terrible, so it makes his time at Everton Football Club not look as bad as what it actually was, and he actually is held as in a bit higher, esteem as what the new owners will be held in. I don't know. Anyway, one thing I do want to say about this is we did a video about the MSP stuff about a month or so ago when it was announced that MSP, pardon me, I'm just going to have a sip of my coffee because it's 4:30 and I'm extremely tired. I've done a full day of work and now I've got to talk about something that I don't know an awful lot about. Yeah, we done a video when the MSP news was released a couple of months ago about MSP, not taking over the football club and that falling through, etc, etc. And I said on that video, I'm not somebody that is massively informed on these types of situations. I feel like a lot of the sort of takeover talk and the things you read on social media and the things you see in the news and the bits and bobs that you hear, a lot of it is very, very, very clouded, very difficult to understand. And listen, again, I'm not a businessman. I'm not a multi-billionaire. I'm not somebody that is, making millions and millions of pounds worth of deals, completing millions and millions of pounds worth of deals every single day. I'm just a 25-year-old kid from 10 minutes away from walk from Goodison Park who loves his football club, goes to watch his football club every single week and likes to talk about them on YouTube. So I don't profess to know anything about the business side of Everton Football Club. As I said last week, doing what I do and doing the channel, you sort of have to know the business side of it because it becomes much more than a footballing situation. Because you look at the ins and outs of the finances, the ins and outs of why we're not doing well as a business, why we're not doing well, etc, etc. But when it comes to takeovers, again, it's a very, very, very blurred, very, very, very blurred position for me, and very, very, very blurred sort of situation, because ultimately there's a lot of stuff out there about 777 partners, that does not look good when it comes to a discussion about them being the potential new owners of Everton Football Club. I mean, there's a lot of things that have been reported over the last 24 hours or so, ever since this information was put out there, that would, be enough for us to sort of not be happy with this move. Rob Palmer, who is a presenter, I believe, a commentator at La Liga, he tweeted, feeling for my many Everton pals, the devil they know, Moshiri, could be a better option than the group circling over Goodison, 777. At least Moshiri was trying to do the right things, even if he failed miserably. Now, that obviously is coming from a commentator in the Spanish League. 777 do own a number of clubs in the Spanish League. One of them, or certainly have investments in a number of clubs in the Spanish League. One of them being Sevilla, who of course have won 5 European trophies in the last 10 years. I think they win the Europa League pretty much every year, and they are in a position now where they're having to pretty much sell any player that they can sell in order to sort of try and repay some of their, I think they've got £90 million worth of debts, and they've put every single player on the transfer market as available in order to try and make some of that money back and clear some of that debt, which obviously isn't a good sign for the club that have been hugely successful in the last 10 years. And when you look at Everton, a club who haven't been hugely successful in the last 10 years and have much more debt than what Sevilla have, you sort of think, well, where does that leave Everton in terms of the situation that we're in? Now, obviously, Rob Palmer is just a Sky Sports commentator, and ultimately, it's just a football commentator, and ultimately, you could say he has worked for Sky Sports, so I was right. Ultimately, you could say, well, he's just somebody with an opinion, and it's not actually based around facts. Well, that is true, but there's been a lot of articles written about 777 and their involvement in other football clubs and other sporting institutions around the world. Paul Brown reported or sort of uploaded one of these articles onto social media from the Daily Star. He said, all this reminds me of when Moores was about to buy Everton, the man with the killer tomatoes, empty seats and fish wrapped in newspapers. Again, not sure about that, but he says before Moshiri suddenly gazumped him, 777 are not the only group that have held talks recently. That could be a positive. Alan Myers reported Miami-based 777 partners are close to agreeing a deal to take over Everton Football Club. The multi-club investors have been in discussions with Farhad Moshiri since the news that New York group MSP Sports Capital had ended its exclusivity agreement with the Everton major shareholder. 777 already have a number of football clubs in their portfolio, including Hertha Berlin, Seville, and Standard Liège. With the fans of Liège holding a demonstration criticising the group's involvement at their last game. The move by 777 will be a full takeover once all Premier League requirements are met, which could take several months to complete. And apparently, it would be a full buyout if it was to go through. The ESC did report something different. The Esk obviously is an Evertonian on social media. If you're on Twitter, you'll know who the X is. He's very sort of business orientated around Everton. He's somebody that does know the ins and outs of business and what it is to run a business, etc., etc. He reported last night that in July, Bloomsburg reported 777 partners were looking to raise $220 million dollars through as co-called Tifosi, who I believe are at a different company. No evidence of any money raised, as it stands unlikely 777 partners have the resources to acquire or part acquire Everton. Capital.com were another company that reported Everton were close to being sold to 777. The ESC reported, despite the report from David Halier, who is a financial journalist, I stand by my comments that 777 partners do not have the resources to acquire or partly acquire Everton, let alone provide the additional funding for the stadium and squad development. He then reported today, despite all reports, there is nothing imminent with 777 partners. I can't be clearer than that. So the ESC is very much standing by his opinion that there's absolutely nothing imminent in regards to 777 and Everton Football Club. He believes that 777 haven't got the funds to even part acquire Everton, never mind fully acquire Everton, and they certainly haven't got the funds to be able to finish the stadium off and then obviously improve the squad to a point that we need every single year. The S did report that confirmation of more than 100 million of loans made by MSP Sports Capital between May and August this year to Everton Stadium Development Holding Company. He says good news secures the next phase of construction, removes threat of administration, and paves way for long-term financing of the stadium to be completed. So we very much are at the moment in a position in terms of the 777 stuff where we are hearing and reading a lot of different things surrounding 777 and surrounding this football club. Obviously, a lot of it is negative. Obviously, a lot of it is not necessarily what you want to hear about your potential new owners of your football club. I think Tom, who is a football scout, we've had Tom on the channel a few times before, he gives a sort of interesting, almost devil's advocate argument regarding 777, and it's not necessarily defending them. But Tom tweeted out earlier today, difficult to weigh up how 777 partners will do on pure football side for Everton, as all 777 football investments are too early to judge. Little to no influence at Seville or Hertha Berlin took over Vasco and Genoa, both in the second division time of purchase, and both clubs have been promoted since. Standard Liège investment too early for assessment, as the purchase was in March 2020. Red Star FC purchase come under heavy political scrutiny instead of football decisions, and all concerns from fan groups across 777 partner clubs have come from off-field involvement from the group. So basically what Tom is saying there is a lot of the concerns that you're seeing from the fans of those football clubs that are owned by 777 are not necessarily concerns about what is going on field, and more concerns about what is being going on off field, which isn't, you know, it isn't a good alternative. It's not a position to be in where we can sit here and go, oh, sound, yeah, we won't be moaning about what's happening on the pitch, but we'll just be moaning about what's happening off the pitch. You don't want to be in that position either way. You don't want to be having concerns about your owners on the pitch, off the pitch, regardless of what it is. You don't want to be having concerns, especially not about new owners that are only just coming through the door. Like I said, the 777 story is definitely an interesting one. There is a lot of news and a lot of media and a lot of content out there surrounding the people that own 777 and surrounding the people that ultimately are involved in 777. Again, like I said, I will never sit here and claim to know the ins and outs about every single business in the world, and certainly not the ins and outs of every single business that have been linked with Everton Football Club for one reason or another. Same when Everton is sponsored by a new company, and people say, oh, why are we being sponsored by this company? They've done this, that, the other in the past. Again, it's very difficult certainly for us as fans, not for the football club, because it's their job to be able to do this due diligence, but it's very difficult for us as fans to know the ins and outs of every single company that Everton Football Club have got some form of partnership with. But it doesn't take a genius to go and Google 777 and go and have a look at some of their previous sort of dramas and controversies that have gone on over the last few years or so, because it's quite evident to see one of their owners being arrested for a drug trafficking charge, which isn't great. You don't want the owner of your football club to have a criminal record on such a such a heavy charge. You don't want them to have a criminal record anyway, but certainly not on a charge like that. And various other different things about where their money's coming from, not being able to secure the money, various different debts, various different sort of corners being cut to find the money to fund certain things. It just doesn't look great, does it? It's messy, it's all over the place, and it's already created this sort of feeling amongst the fan base of, well, we don't want them. You're seeing hashtags on social media, no to 777. A lot of Blues are reposting the banner that I think the Standard Liège fans had out, which was in demonstration to 777. It's not a good look. And as I said, we very much are in a position of, well, surely anything can be better than what Farhad Moshiri has done to this football club over the last 6-7 years, but we don't know whether that's the case. Everton at the moment run on such a fine line that I'm not saying I want Farhad Moshiri to stay at the football club, by the way. I'm not saying I think Farhad Moshiri has done a good job. I'm not saying I want Bill Kenwright to stay at the football club. But what I'm saying is we had a conversation last week about the funds that Everton had brought in from the transfer window. Everton had made £45 million this summer on player sales, and we'd only sold 3 million. We'd only paid out €3 million. So where was that other 42 odd million pounds? And it ended up coming out, in the days following that had gone towards the overall running of the football club, the day-to-day running of the football club, if you like. And we sat here on a video and we said, well, how worrying and how terrifying is that we're in a position that we're having to sell assets of this football club. We're having to weaken our squad significantly in order just to run the day-to-day business. And if that's the case, and we are sort of, walking on that fine line and we are skating on that thin ice where, we're in a position where we're having to sell footballers in order to just pay the day-to-day running and bills of the football club, then maybe we are in a position, where things can get an awful lot worse than what they are now. We've already heard that word administration being floating about, over the last few months or so on social media and in various different conversations, and you never want to entertain that word because it's absolutely terrifying to think that Everton and administration could be in the same sentence and that could be a reality. But for those people that believe that won't be a reality and that is absolutely impossible and Everton will never go into administration because we're a massive football club, we're a Premier League football club. Liverpool Football Club had won 4 Champions League trophies. In fact, I think they might have won 5 Champions League trophies, and they were 20 minutes away from going into administration, and they were bailed out by the Royal Bank of Scotland, who gave them a massive loan, and they ended up being able to have a takeover, repay that loan, and then obviously continue on as the football club that they are. But they were multi-time European champions, 17, 18-time league champions, multi-time FA Cup champions, one of the most successful football clubs in the world and in this country. And they were 20 minutes away from relegation. 20 minutes away from administration, and they were saved by the Royal Bank of Scotland. And the reason I'm bringing that up is because that shows you that you are never too big for these types of situations to come back and bite you on the arse. You are never too big for financial ruin and for gross misconduct at the top of the tree, and gross mismanagement at the top of the tree to come back and put you in a position that you can't come back from. So the whole thing of Everton will never go into administration, we're invincible, we're a Premier League football club, etc., etc., it's not quite right. We've seen more successful football clubs over the years be very, very, very close to going into administration. So, again, like I said, we are walking that fine line, and that fine line, if we get it wrong, and by we I mean if Farhad Moshiri sells to the wrong people, and they haven't got the funds to be able to run the football club on a day-to-day basis, and they haven't got the funds to be able to improve this squad, and we once again get asset stripped, relegation to the Championship is the least of our problems. It's what goes beyond that. It's okay, you might say, well, 777 could come in and Everton could get relegated to the Championship. I'm not really worried about Everton being relegated into the Championship. I'm worried about whether Everton will still be a football club in 5 years' time. Because, as I said, financially at the moment, we need somebody that is going to come in and get absolutely everything spot on for at least 2 or 3 years in order to be able to sort of steady this ship. We are a sinking ship at the moment. We're a ship with massive holes in it that's on its way down, and we need somebody that's going to come in, patch that ship up and steady it. We don't need somebody that's going to come in and go, how do you use this hammer? Oh shit, I've knocked another massive hole in the side of it. And 777 could potentially be that. Now again, as I said, I don't pertain to know everything about the ins and outs of Everton Football Club and everything to know the ins and outs of the business. So maybe Everton aren't in as bad of a situation as what it seems on social media or what it seems in the newspapers. Maybe Everton are in a position where they're going, shut up lad, we're not anywhere near close to administration. Yeah, alright, we're in a bit of shit, but we'll be alright. I'm just saying what I feel from what I've read on social media and from the information that I've taken in. And as I said, we really can't afford as a football club to be taken over or be owned by a company that doesn't absolutely 100% know what they're doing. And by the looks of things, 777, even if they absolutely knew what they were doing and they were, the right people and they had the right people in charge, it doesn't even seem like they've got the funds to be able to do what we need them to do. Obviously, as I mentioned at the start of the video, there's a whole process that goes on when a Premier League football club is taken over. a whole due diligence process. The Premier League has to take a deep look and a deep dive into the accounts and into the the ins and outs of the business that are buying the football club, and really come to a decision as to whether or not they can afford the football club, whether or not they are able to buy the football club, whether or not they are able to raise the funds in order to not only buy the football club but keep the football club afloat on a day-to-day basis. And that's where the 777 thing could come to a halt. As I said, 777 might be sitting there watching this now going, lad, what are you on about? I'm sitting on a gold toilet. We've got hundreds of millions of quid here. We're sound. But from what I'm reading on social media and stuff, a lot of reports are suggesting that 777 are struggling to build finances. They are struggling to raise funds, and they are struggling ultimately to pay off some existing debts that they've got, let alone be able to fund buying a Premier League football club that is on the verge of building a brand new 500 million, 700 million pound stadium, and ultimately is in need of a desperate influx of cash in order to be able to steady the situation that we're currently in. You would like to hope that the Premier League wouldn't allow this to go through. You would like to hope that the Premier League would say, no, we're not having that. We don't fully believe that you are what you are and that you have the money that you say you have. Nice one, Blues. Appreciate it, mate. See you later. But the Premier League have allowed, dubious takeovers to happen in previous years. They've allowed dubious takeovers to happen in the last 12 months, haven't they? Let's be honest. So I can't sit here confidently and say that if the deal is agreed between Everton and 777 and it does look to be happening, I can't sit here and say it's all right because the Premier League will stop it, because I just don't have that much faith and trust in the Premier League. I'll be perfectly honest with you. There is another theory that this is all just a front for another company to be coming in. There's another theory that 777 won't buy Everton Football Club because they can't buy Everton Football Club and they haven't got the funds to, but somebody else maybe is in deep conversation to buy the football club, and it's just not really being reported in the media as of yet, and they are liking the fact that 777 are in the media because it takes the eyes off of whoever the other group is. Pardon me. That may well be the case. We heard a few weeks ago, after the MSP news had broke, that MSP had walked away, that there was a number of groups interested in buying Everton Football Club. 777 were one of them, and I believe there was another consortium, Asian consortium, that were also interested in buying Everton Football Club as well. As Paul Brown's article states, that 777 are not the only group that have held talks recently. So, like I said, again, the title of the last scene reads 777 close to full takeover of Everton, and that's because that's what the BBC article stated. That's because that's what the Bloomberg article stated. If you were to ask me my genuine opinion, nice one, Damo, appreciate it. If you ask me my genuine opinion, I don't necessarily believe that this is as far down the line as what it says, and that's not just because the Esk has said that, and I believe everything the Esk has said. I just get the gut feeling that we've been here before. We've been here before where we've been told that Everton are minutes away from a takeover. Everton are, I remember sitting there last night and when I read the first sort of article from Bloomberg that said an announcement could be made on Tuesday. And I remember chuckling to myself because 6 months ago, we sat here on this very channel, in this very seat, and spoke about a report suggesting that MSP were seconds away from taking Everton over, and an announcement could be made the next day, and nothing happened. And now we're having the same conversation about a different group. So I don't necessarily believe this is as far down the line as people are reporting. Do I think 777 are in the conversation? Absolutely. Do I think Farhad Moshiri would sell to 777 and completely ignore the fact that they maybe aren't the right people to ultimately buy this football club? Yes, I do. Because I've said it from day one, and I'll say it again. I genuinely believe that Farhad Moshiri doesn't give a fuck about this football club. I do. I think he doesn't care. I think he's not interested, and I think he's at this point now where Everton with his little toy, Everton was with his little play sort of thing, is little, oh my God, I'll pick them up and I'll put some money in there and I'll buy this player and I'll buy that. And now he's got bored of it. He's like a kid, when they've got a toy, they have a good few months playing with it and, having a laugh with it, etc., etc., and then a few months later, it's like, yeah, I'm bored of that now. I want a new one. And I think that's what Farhad Moshiri is doing with this football club. So, yes, I do firmly believe that Farhad Moshiri would sell Everton to 777, regardless of everybody's concerns about them as a business. But I also think Farhad Moshiri would sell to somebody else as well. I think he just wants to get out now, and I think he just wants rid of this football club. And hopefully, for whatever reason, whether it be the Premier League stop it, whether it be Moshiri stops it, hopefully the 777 stuff can just be put to bed and somebody else can come in and buy this football club. As I said, I wouldn't and I'm not telling anybody how to feel, and I'm not telling anybody how to think. Just my personal opinion is, I don't think we're going to be waking up tomorrow morning to the news that Everton have got new owners. Because as I said, even when these things are agreed, even when these deals are done, it takes months and months and months and months and months before they are officially completed and before they are officially announced and everything is sorted. So yeah, it's interesting, and it's definitely something to keep an eye on, and it's definitely something to discuss, because it is concerning, because there is massive concerns around 777 and their ability to run a football club successfully, and especially given, as I said before, Everton's position. We really aren't in a position where we can afford a company to come in or a business to come in and not have the funds to ultimately finish the stadium, or not have the funds to invest in January in the squad, or in the summer in the squad. Yeah, we ultimately need to be careful with that, but we've not got a say in it. I've not got a say, have I? There's 100 people watching, none of us have got a say in it. If Everton are going to be sold to 777, they're going to be sold to 777. The only fella with a say is the fella at the top of the football club, who, as I said, for me, it has just been an absolute disaster, and one of the worst things to ever happen to this football club. But there you go. We're going to leave it there. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Are you worried about the 7-7 stuff? Do you like me sort of looking at it and think, this is, I don't quite think this is where it's said. It's, I don't quite think this is as far down the line as it's being said. Or are you just in the position where you think anything is better than Moshiri? Get them in and see what happens. Let us know your thoughts down below. If you have enjoyed this one, please do leave a like. It would mean a massive amount to me. We'll be back with another video or live stream over the next couple of days or so, of course, leading up to Everton's Premier League fixture against Arsenal on Sunday. If you are new, don't forget to subscribe. That would mean a huge deal to me. Leave a like if you've enjoyed it. And yeah, big thanks for watching, and we'll see you later.